it's going to get to the point where
Ready
these
when you
meetings
are.
are going to have to be in person.
We are streaming, we are recording, we are live. All right.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 3 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Can we all stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have you heard from Doug?
No.
No? Okay. So we'll go ahead
I
and,
know he's supposed to be here.
what?
As far as I know, he should be here.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and have roll call. In attendance, we have Bob, Carol, Ed, and myself. And Doug is not present.
Before you approve the final agenda, I would ask that you, we've canceled item number 12, the bid hearing protest.
Also, add to the agenda ratification of the cancellation of the bid protest.
Say that again, Tom.
Ratification of the district manager's cancellation of the bid protest.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda as modified.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we'll go ahead and move to public comments.
All right, I have a few.
All right.
Reminder, you get 3 minutes, and first up, most of them are non-agenda.
Okay.
This one's a combination of both, so Marty, you're first. His is Marty Mantonfeld, LME relief for Tiberio Drive, and branding, which is item 11B.
Marty Mantonfeld, 9295 Brino Drive in Pelican Preserve. So I have comments on the lake management easement for 10825 Tiberio Drive. This was submitted to the Pelican Preserve Architectural Control Committee on December 6th of 23 and approved. I recommend that the board don't take any action on this and they send it back to the advisory committee so the Pelican Preserve Advisory Subcommittee on Ponds can evaluate the impact to the lake management easement. My other comment is on the rebranding, and honestly, I think the rebranding doesn't make us all inclusive and it doesn't include Pelican Preserve. I think the rebranding as proposed divides us still, and I think we should take another look at this. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
All right, next up, I have Dan Fitzgerald from Timber Ridge regarding the status of surveying Pond 94.
Hey, Dan Fitzgerald, Timber Ridge. I just wanted to understand what the status is of Pond 94. We thought we were having surveying done, and we haven't heard anything since.
Is that your
It's-
only question?
Yes.
Chelsea?
The board never gave direction for Pond 94 specifically.
It was just 90, right? I mean, not 90.
It was just 109.
Just 109?
Correct.
Okay.
Where's the,
You were there.
are the two, have they been bid?
They're out to bid.
They're out to bid. We haven't done a survey or done the same thing, because I thought we said that the last, oh God, it's been a month or two ago, last year.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I thought we had said that since it was like 12 properties, 14 properties at the most, to go on ahead and get the legal descriptions or the property pins established.
There was a lot of discussion, but there was never any formal direction from the board to do that for that specific pond.
So I remember the pond, because we asked, it was a price question for Tetra Tech, and it was a 7,500 for 109, and I went back.
And this one was a lot smaller than 109.
Yes.
You're about 25, 28 lots on 109, and you're only, I think, 12, maybe
Yeah,
14.
it was
Yeah.
the trees being on
Yeah.
inside the.
Yeah, and the issue is to determine where the LME is on that pond, because there's so, well, some of the houses, when you go and measure them from the edge of the lake right now, you go 20 feet, you go into the house.
Yes.
But we know that that's not the case. They didn't build them that way. So that means there's been a hell of a lot of encroachment or
Okay.
lake bank erosion that.
So what do we do from now?
So we'll
we'll
go
bring
ahead and
that up.
the board will discuss it under admin, under item 11. And make a decision.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, next up is Bob Riesler from
94.
94.
Timber Ridge regarding irrigation meters and connection fees.
Bob Raisler, Timber Ridge, and 12902 Timber Ridge Drive. With regard to the irrigation of the two properties in Timber Ridge, mistakes were made 19 to 20 years ago when the irrigation was installed in Timber Ridge. And in one case, a meter was installed and connected. In the other case, the irrigation line was installed and connected to the irrigation zones without a meter. And no meter was found, but may exist somewhere, but apparently not found. So we'll just assume it wasn't found or installed. When Ledgewood Circle was turned over to Gateway CCD Board, it specified that the status of the irrigation system was properly reported to Gateway CCD, otherwise something would have been done. But in fact, it was not properly connected. The meters weren't identified, and the irrigation goes on with regard to those particular properties. We've subsequently identified that they were not being properly metered, and meters need to be put in. However, that decision was done by WSI, who did the construction on the property and did put in the irrigation and did complete it. And it was then turned over to the board, probably inappropriately, in that the board was not notified that there was no meter and that there was no connection fees and so on, or whatever the status was is unknown at this point. So we received a notice from the water department indicating that we owed for a meter and for connection fees. Connection fees were around $9,000, and I think the meter was close to $2,000. So it was roughly $12,000. What the board feels it would be more appropriate would be to go back in time and look where this all happened. And because we weren't involved in the process, and you guys were inappropriately involved in the process, that we pay for the meter, but not for the connection fees, or for the connection fees at the then current rate, so that we could be properly deal with this situation and get this whole thing behind us. So we're recommending to the board that we pay for the meter, but the connection fees should be paid at the then current rate in the year 2000, well, in 2003, 2004, whatever that was. And that's our point that we'd like to bring to the board. And we'd like to get this matter resolved and moved on.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. So just one quick question. So since there were no meters, they were not paying for water for 20 years?
Correct.
Okay.
And we have no knowledge of if it was when WCI did it or if it was in the interim.
Okay.
We just know that there was an illegal tap to the main.
Thank you.
How
Next.
many
Sorry.
meters are we talking about?
Two.
Two, that's what I thought. 2 meters.
All right, next up I have Gordon Hutton from Hidden Links Drive regarding trees by the pond.
Happy New Year, happy holidays, hope everybody had a good holiday. I'm Gordon Hutton, 11991 Hidden Links Drive, Fort Myers, Florida. I'm asking for a waiver for the 20-foot variance for the 13 trees that I have in the backyard. They were put in 2010. They're huge trees now. That's it in a nutshell.
It's item 11E. I missed that
That's
one.
all?
Living.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on site yesterday. All right, that's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right. Is it Robert Beal regarding the lake maintenance project?
Good afternoon, folks. Seems to be a hot topic. I'm Robert Beal, 12036 Cypress Links Drive. I'm getting dumber as I'm getting older. Sorry about that. I'm here to respectfully request ability to address the contractor, who I believe is going to be coming Monday to start the encroachment process for the easement on the lake. I have mango trees there. One of them is within the area that I was sent the aerial photographs. It's 10 years old. Last year was the first year I got mangoes off it, and they were great. I'll offer you some later on, but I won't bribe you, that's for sure. So what I'm trying to do is, when the contractor gets there, and I've spoken to Wyatt, spoken to Elle, But when the contractor gets there Monday, and if I point out the tree to him, which I do have photos of, and if he can work around it or just trim it in half versus removal, that would be greatly appreciated, because my wife will no longer say, why can't you do something about this? So I'm trying. So that's what I'm asking for, to be waived on the tree removal if the contractor says he can work around it. If he can't, so be it. Then I'll go with the law, with the rules.
Thank you. No, what is the address again?
12036
Is this a drainage?
Cypress Links Drive. And I do have the aerial photos if you wish to
I
see.
would you, if you just give it to Chelsea.
Yeah, I'd like to see what it,
I usually bring my computer, not today.
is this where the contractor's proposing to use the area between your house and another for access to the lake?
Well, Elle and her assistant came out shortly after I received the letter saying, well, anything past these stakes have to be removed. And she said, however, come to one of these meetings, plead your case. The contractor was supposed to be there today, but he wasn't. His workers were. One was Wyatt. And, they can't make that decision.
Okay.
So when the contractor gets there, if he says, yes, Mr. BOI can work around this, that would be great. And if he can't, then removal.
I'm trying to figure out.
Thank you.
Can you put your phone number?
The only thing I got to figure is, the question I've got is the issue of the tree on the LME, or is it
In between the
in-
houses.
in between
the houses, but
houses?
lower down
Yeah, it's
below.
from the edge of the lake to my home. The 20 feet is past where the tree is.
But is the tree in between two, is the tree is near the pond, but is it between two properties or is exactly behind your home?
Exactly behind my
So
home.
it's in the LME?
Yes,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you can give it back.
What-
Your phone number. Next up, I have Ron Ransom regarding the embankment program status. What's your deal? 609-529-3186.
Let's give me the shakes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is your neighbor Dave Bickford? I'm sorry, is your neighbor Dave Bickford?
I'm sorry?
Is your neighbor Dave Bickford? Okay, now I know where you're at. Okay, okay. Thank you.
Hello. Hi.
I'm the one
Hi.
that big Trump flag out. Unfortunately, our man is back in the house.
Again, my name is Ron Ransom. I'm here kind of representing all of Hidden Links, which is affected by the embankment project on Pond 130, I believe is the number. Well, I'm requesting that the board provide a status update for where this project stands. And what I mean by that, in kind of piggybacking on with Gordon, who is my across the street neighbor, none of us really understands the waiver process. And we were promised with a visit from Mr. Potter that we would have a letter that was contingent upon getting a survey, understand that, where we could all understand with some accuracy what our waivers might even need to be. And I'll give you my property as an example. I got the letter in November saying, you need to get rid of 7 trees, because they were within the 20 feet LME, I guess is how you guys say it. And so I went out and I couldn't figure out where these 7 trees were even coming from. And so neither could Daniel when he came out there. And what we wound up figuring out, got verified, is that you guys were working off of old aerials. So at best, I've got 4 trees under question, but at the same time, verbally, he indicated to me that he just couldn't understand why we couldn't work around all 4 of them. Now, I've got those kind of similar issues that are expressed to me every time I go to breakfast on Friday morning with my buds on the street. So in terms of what Gordon did, I think we all need to understand in accuracy, we need to clear up the confusions where we stand with each one of our properties that are affected by the pond. Now, we know there's going to be some issues. I've even got a plan B, in my back pocket, where I've got a landscaping company that's going to put in a couple of Christmas palms, I guess, to kind of make up for the loss that I might have to incur. So none of us are fighting the project. We just want clarity. And we've been fighting for the clarity. We've been told we were going to get a letter after the survey, but that was 6 weeks ago. And so because there's some needing for some planning, I'm requesting that we get a letter from you folks of update of process. When is going to happen? What do we need to do to put in waivers? How is that process going to work? Roughly the timing. We know you can't be perfect on all this, but we need some guidance so that we don't mess up the project, minimize, and we want to minimize the cost and the time delay that might be incurred on the project. We want the project to be done and done right. At the same time, though, we need to understand how we really need to react to it. You can imagine my thinking going like, well, why do I have to take 7 trees out and so on? It needs to be done right. I know you want to do that. So I'm requesting that we get an updated letter, not a month from now, not 3 weeks now, but in a few days. Just tell us basically what's going to happen and what we need to do in order to provide waivers if we need them. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll give you one better. Chelsea, would just real fast, just go over the process of what people need to follow, because I did have a conversation with you regarding what was in the board pack, because I felt like some applications were incomplete, so I didn't necessarily want to review them today because they're incomplete, and I don't think we should deny them because they're incomplete if they were not aware of the process. So if you can just recap the process within a minute or two.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Just really quickly, this is somewhat of a new process. The policy was implemented a handful of months ago, so we're working through these as we go. We do have an encroachment easement use policy on our website that has an application, it has instructions, it has everything how to fill that out. You can always contact staff on exactly how to fill that out. There's one on here, item C. So if you go back to the agenda pack, you'll be able to see the actual form of application, but you can download that from our website, fill it out, submit that, request that to come in front of the board. On that application, you'll fill out exactly what you're asking that encroachment to entail, if it's Christmas palms, if it's pygmy palms, whatever that may be. You'll pay the fee that's associated with that. That will come in front of the board at their next regularly scheduled meeting, which is the first and third Thursday of each month. The contractor is starting today on 1:30. They are mobilizing, as the gentleman mentioned earlier. Understood. The holidays, everybody's just coming back. They have typically 30 to 45 days to complete the entire project. So any easement requests that you're interested in pursuing need to come to the board at the 16th meeting and email as soon as you can. But the form in and of itself needs to be completed and submitted a week prior to the 16th. Please come to the mic if you're going to speak.
So we'll get you a letter. I just wanted to get you an answer now.
Yeah, thank you. No,
We'll go ahead.
That's great.
We'll go ahead and within the next few days, have a letter.
Yeah, I think
out.
everybody needs to hear what she just said.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you an answer now, so we just don't go back and forth, but we'll put a letter out. And then my follow-up question is regarding the assessing what's in the LME or not, just because I've been really heavily involved with the ponds, which most of us have. I don't think we have, and my expectation is that we're not utilizing aerial views. I don't have a problem with the drone because we have one, but most of the time we all either walk or staff is walking the properties. So I do want to follow up with Daniel regarding that, if that was.
Those numbers and counts were provided by the district engineer Tetra Tech. And so
Follow up with Tetra Tech.
that's what we're doing.
Because I know staff is walking the ponds, I know the board is walking the ponds, and if
until those survey stakes are in, to your point, Ron, we're kind of guessing, and when that survey goes in is when the contract is awarded and the contractor calls for the survey, unless we choose to pay the $7,500 every single time we want to do a survey of the pond of the LME. So until those stakes are actually in the ground.
So there's time to talk with residents and, okay.
So the quickest means of communication is we'll most likely email through whatever communication.
That's terrific. If we can get a fast communication, I know we can pull a group meeting together and in our community and react to it.
Ron, I've got your email, so we'll get it to you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
I
now,
think, can you get an email out tomorrow?
Yes.
To everybody
Yeah.
on that pond?
Yes.
okay,
Anybody who we have.
I want to take a step further. I'll take the email to the HOA. We know, that's what I think I remember. You sent an email out to us, didn't you? You sent an email out as well, didn't you, last week or a few weeks ago?
Ron,
so.
you're representing the Hidden Links HOA, correct?
I am.
Okay,
So the email goes to him and then he can just pass it on.
Well,
Email to everyone.
You should
Just because he
you
has
should
the
make sure you
ability to-
send it to Alan Bova as well. He's the president of
can
our HOA.
We we could just pass the information to
Yeah,
Laura.
Alan's got an eye appointment right
Just
now.
because
He
we don't
couldn't-
have the ability to, we have the ability to send out to the residents that we have the email on file, and
Oh, that's
otherwise,
fine.
otherwise we send a letter, but it would be great help for
Ron,
staff
just- you've got
if
my
we can
email.
have the HOA, because you have that and we don't.
Alan's my bud, so we can pull
Okay.
this off.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Question. What is this easement we're talking about? I thought that these people were coming in and simply getting a waiver. What is the easement for?
It's the
It's what we
encroachment,
approved.
it's the encroachment use agreement that we have.
For what purpose though?
It allows the encroaching vegetation, structures, improvements to remain.
How are we
Until-
doing that on all the ponds that have violations of that?
If they're coming in
We've never
requesting
done that
it,
before.
well, that's what we approved that we were doing it. That's one of the process that Tony brought it up to us. And he created a form and we said, okay, and that's why, the only one that I saw that was complete was Pelican Preserve. Like that one, it's like, for me, that's the one that's ready for me to make a decision.
Yeah,
Because it's completely done correctly.
my issue is that I have no issue whatsoever of looking at each one of these and granting a waiver on the basis that the work can be done and we don't have to clear cut 20 feet. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. But what is the need and the necessity to do the easement?
No, it's not an easement.
We already have an easement.
No, you're correct. It's an
Yeah.
encroachment agreement that says,
That's it.
based upon what you've submitted, we reviewed it, we, the district, will allow that encroachment to remain. And we have a description of it and a graphic to, it's
But
clear.
is the purpose of it, Tony,
allow
I'm
it
getting
to-
around to where I believe we are really dangerously close on selective enforcement of stuff. How have we, for years, not done this, and now all of a sudden, we're picking out and saying, from this point forward, you're going to have to do this, where everybody else, we've worked around this and haven't requested that document? How are we doing
The
that?
fact that district has not in the past required either removal or a person to apply for, what they used to call a non-disturbance encroachment agreement, there are some of those in the past also, does not preclude the district from on a go-forward basis, saying from henceforward, we are going to require, while we do the ponds, if we run into
But
situations.
is it a maintenance issue?
Yes, the ability to maintain by use of the 20-foot.
But how do we do that where we have done this in the past and we haven't asked for this document? To me, we have to retroactively go back and get this from everybody that's got a document or an item that's within the LME.
And I will say this, even prior to this coming along, when staff is finding items that are encroaching, they are bringing that up to the homeowner, and the homeowner is, because I know it happened at Silver Lakes, and not even on the ponds that we did work on it, just items that happened, they brought it up to us, Hampton Park. So as we go along, as the staff is doing pond inspections, if there's an item that comes up, they do notify the homeowner, and we have randomly received, and the board and review, and either approve or deny those requests.
But the issue is that I'm understanding is that what we're looking for is what these owners are looking for is a waiver not to have to take those trees down. Now, the issue is that in that 20 feet, can we work around it construction wise, and can we work around it maintenance wise?
Well, that's a board discretion.
And my deal is that right now, I just looked at today, trying to get a feel for this, looked at Pelican Preserve. We have a plethora of trees and other obstacles that are within the 20 feet.
But let me-
What are we doing here?
Are we talking about lake trees? Because we also have it. We're not
Well,
talking about lake.
that's a difference.
So we're not talking about, like, if Pelican Preserve have either an oak tree that is required, or it's a maple tree, or it's a cypress
Palm or
tree,
whatever.
those are to stay there regardless if they are on the LME, because they are required by the development in order to stay there. So I don't want to generally say Pelican Preserve have a bunch of trees and we may have to take them down, because they may have to be there no matter what, regardless if
Well,
they're
see,
on the LME.
we get the same thing, at least
I don't know what
on
he's talking
Hidden
about. There's
Lakes
not a
with
lot
the
of
development
trees.
order. We got the same issue with the development order at Hidden Lake. We have requirements for trees also. And these were done by the developer. They were done by WCI.
So that's
I think we need to revisit this whole thing, because I'm telling you, I don't like the idea. I think this idea of an easement stinks. If we're charging somebody for something they already have granted on their property, going back and asking them for more, I to totally understand the waiver. And I totally understand the need that we've got both a construction issue problem and we've got a maintenance issue problem. But 20-foot clear cut blanket into subject is absurd. And it's now gotten to the point where it's ridiculous. We're chasing the goose. We need to step back, look at what we need to do, especially when we have our contractors come in and talking to owners and saying, I don't understand this, I can work around this. We look pretty stupid.
But it is a requirement, so it's something that we don't necessarily like, so it's a feel versus fact. We don't like it, but it is a requirement. That's what it's called LME, and that's why it's 20. The majority of ones in gateways are 20, there's some are 10.
Yeah, I don't understand, I don't have any problem with the LME and the understanding of the LME. I'm just trying to use some common sense. There's construction-related issues. If you've got a tree that's 10, 12 feet inside that LME into the lake, that is problematic. It's problematic not only to construction, it's problematic to maintenance. But a tree that's 12 to 20 feet, give me a break. We've worked around it for $20 million worth of work. We don't have to go this route.
We'll
We
go
don't
ahead
have
and
to go
review
this
and
route.
have a deeper conversation when we get to
So,
item 11.
But anyway, right now, I just want to make sure I understand this easement situation, because also what I was looking at is we've had people come in and request a waiver.
Yep.
Is a request a waiver.
And if I may suggest also, the term waiver is an inappropriate term to use.
That's what,
I know it pops up elsewhere. I mean, it's a request to allow an encroachment to remain in the district's easement. Getting back to, the property owner owns the fee simple title, but if there's an easement encumbering the property, the easement holder becomes the dominant estate, it's called. And the servient estate, the property owner, even though they own the fee simple title, becomes a servient estate, subservient to the use of the easement dominant estate. So if a property owner interferes with the use of the dominant estate easement by the easement holder, then the easement holder can require correction to
And I think-
eliminate the interference, or in this case, say, okay, we're going to allow it to remain, but in the future, if we run into a problem, you're going to have to take it out, or we'll take it out for you.
again, it's, if you look at item 11C, the background kind of gives a summary of what you
Yes.
just said, and which is the Pelican Preserve home, and it's very clear. So,
Flavia, Doug is online and he has his hand raised.
okay, so we need a motion.
He joined a few minutes ago.
Okay, so we need a motion to allow, so I'll go ahead and make a
I
motion.
so moved to allow
Doug
Doug.
Benz to participate in this meeting remotely due to exceptional circumstances.
I so moved.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Hey, didn't we a while back, when we were getting into the discussion of every time we said we were going to do a lake bank?
So I don't necessarily put, I just want to make sure that we have all, because I think we have more on the same topic, so.
Okay, well, I was trying to do it, I thought it
I
was
don't
coming
have,
anyway.
I don't have any more.
Oh, you don't
comment.
have- okay,
Nope, that's the
Okay,
end.
just on,
Yeah.
in Ed's point, I thought we established the LME guideline,
Mhm.
so we don't have to discuss every single pond, every single time, every single lot. I think you were sitting next to me when we went all through that. Whether it was a good decision or bad decision, that was a decision I thought we took. And now you're saying,
But where we're at right now is that we send out in advance of construction of a project. And this thing's getting really hairy, and it doesn't need to be. There are two issues. Issue one that drove this was it was very difficult for us to construct the necessary improvements if the objects were too close to the shoreline. That was issue one. Then what came in and trailed it was that we one time talked 7 feet, 8 feet, and picked some numbers. Then it came down, well, can we maintain it if we only go to 8 feet? Because as the water level comes up, then that 8 feet goes to 6 feet, to 5 feet, to 4 feet. Can we maintain it? So there's two issues. But the issue that's got everybody upset right now is that in advance of the construction, we send out a letter that just simply indicates anything in 20 feet has got to be removed.
that's exactly
And
what
if
we
you
voted.
don't
That's what we
remove it,
agreed.
That is exactly what was voted on.
And that's, and
that's-
that particular
that's what I'm
letter
saying.
isn't
I think
what
we
we
need to
request.
revisit it.
I don't have a
Okay.
problem revisiting.
But
but
we're
I-
not
but I-
doing anything wrong, we're doing
No,
exactly
but I
for once.
clearly
so we
remember
know.
that we said that's what we wanted to do, rather than have every time we do a lake bank, get 10 people coming in and say, oh, I want my tree here. And if somebody doesn't show up, then we just take it out. But if somebody has, they love that tree,
And then the issue came up, and that the alternative was, is that let's if you've got a concern as an owner, you come in and request a waiver. And the last thing I don't want is have sit here and on every one of our ponds, have 100 waivers every time we're down the
Well,
road.
that's exactly why we
I think
issued
we
the
need to go backwards. to
easement.
We
reestablish-
can have both. It's one or the other.
You can't
and-
have a blanket easement of 20 feet and then have 35 waivers. Now, we either do it the old way, and I'm okay with doing it the old way, where you did it ad hoc, whoever complains, or we do it the new way. And I thought we kind of settled.
Or there's a happy medium.
Which we.
Well, I don't
which
know
we
how you get a
also-
happy medium.
we
Happy medium is
also
what we used to
tried,
do.
And then, like, a good example with Daniel, we try a happy medium there, and we're talking about 1 or 2 feet, and one home was okay and the other was not, and then the property's in an angle, and then this homeowner is saying, I mean, very vividly, how come mine have to go and his does not? It's in
That's
the same
exactly
angle?
right.
And that's
So-
why we would have to selectively pick a number and we go with it. But 20 feet, in my opinion, it's absurd now.
Well, so,
Hey, Flavia,
yes, Doug, go ahead.
hey, just really quick. So, because we keep coming back to this subject, and what I would recommend is let's identify what's the problem we're trying to solve. And I think to Ed's point, it comes in 2 categories. One is related to lake bank project restoration work, and the other is O&M, business as usual operation and maintenance. I'm all for a standard, but it does sound like that what we approved, the 20 feet, is creating issues. What I would say is, if we are going to, we need to revisit that for one. Is that the standard we should adhere to? But once we identify the standard, we would also need to have an exception policy or exception tree. What I mean by that is, let's say if it's a lake bank restoration project, and there is a property owner that has a tree. I'm going to use the 20 feet today as an example because that's what's on the books. That's within the 20 feet. I think we need to come up with with some standards. Okay, is the tree within the 20 feet? Yes. Is it within the secondary tier, which let's just say that's 10 feet? And if that is a yes, then it is. Is there an alternate? Does it stop the lake bank project from the vendor from doing the work? If that's a no, okay, then there's an exception. If it's a yes, is there an alternative or workaround that's acceptable? So I believe we can create a decision tree, and I think we're doing that today just as part of what staff's doing. But what I don't want to have happen is, to Bob's point, we have 30, 50 requests come through. We don't create a standard, even an exception standard, and then we end up, someone coming through and say, well, you approved this one. Why did you approve that one? Well, we have to come up with something ad hoc. So I think we need to revisit the 20 feet. 2, create some type of path. And it's very easy, I think, when you look at if it's lake bank or operation and maintenance, to say if it falls within, let's say, the 20 feet, does it stop staff or the vendor's ability to do the work? If that's a yes, then that's a problem. If it's a no, and there's a workaround, I think we can get to a point where we don't have to have these all ad hoc, but at least create some type of precedent or standard as we move forward. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I'll go back what Tony said. If we decide that homeowner will stay, a tree will stay or not, they're still required to sign an agreement with us and fill up the form and pay for the application fee. So then we have records. So 5 years down the road, when that home is sold and we need to do another repair and we're back on the same boat, there's a document. We don't have to go back.
Yeah.
So it's
No, I agree with that.
So,
Yeah.
so there is the construction, there's the maintenance, and regardless what the decision is to stay, then a document needs to be completed and the board has formally to approve that document and sign in conjunction with the homeowner.
Well, my whole point is that if we're going to do a waiver, we're going to do an easement, we're going to have to develop a standard, or it's going to get a deal if it's selective. We can't tell one property owner, you've got a tree at 17 feet and it has to go, and then grant a waiver to a guy that's got one that's at 12. We can't do that.
But that's
Well,
what-
I think we need to create, what's a minimum? So is the minimum 10 feet? Because we need at least 10 feet in order to get vehicles around or whatever. If that's the minimum, then the desired is, I don't know, maybe it's 15 feet, not 20, but we can create a standard and then a minimum for exception. But there has to be something where it says, okay, we have to figure out, probably more so today, what what we would stand behind in order to enforce the removal as opposed to not, because I think that's the problem comes into when we absolutely can't do maintenance or there's no workaround. Those are the ones we need to get rid of, not the ones that are 15 feet and there's a workaround, or they're not in the way of anything.
I agree.
Right. Bob,
Yeah.
Tony, go ahead.
If I may just briefly go back to the beginning of why it's there. South Florida Permit Criteria, Permit Manual, Environmental Resource Permit Manual, basis for review requires a 20-foot lake maintenance easement all around all lakes and ponds for the purpose of routine maintenance, reconstruction, construction, repair. So that's the baseline. That's part of all the permits we have. And we're the permittee with South Florida Water Management District. There might be situations if the board wants to maintain a policy to evaluate on a case-by-case basis the ability of a property owner to allow a particular improvement, structure, or vegetation to remain, to set up criteria, I agree, and call it a deviation or encroachment request. For example, in the zoning and land use development world, you can ask for a variance from setbacks and other requirements, and you have to show that certain objective criteria, or there's a series of questions that have to be addressed and answered by the applicant, and then the decision maker says, okay, based upon the totality of the situation and the request, we grant or we deny the particular request. And I think that's a good idea for have the staff work with the engineers, come up with those criteria if the board wishes to have that, so that anybody who wants to apply can see that, what the general criteria are. In a variance, typically a variance, you have to show hardship that is not created by the applicant. And that's okay. In other words, if I build my house too close to and encroach into the required zoning setback, and I build it that way, that's a self-created hardship. And so some places say you don't get, in some case law says you don't get a variance from the setbacks. You don't get a deviation from the setbacks because you created the issue. So, I mean, those are some of the things I think we can work with from a staff perspective, bring back some criteria to the board, and have the board workshop it and say, these are what you need to supply, so the board can evaluate each and every one. And again, I don't know what they're going to be. I'm not an engineer.
But you're still got to have something as the basis so that you have some consistency in decision making.
Again,
That's exactly what he said.
That's where the consistency
Staff
comes
and
through.
Triton Tech will come to that.
With the
Bring it
criteria.
to us.
Yeah.
And then we approve it. We say, okay, we'll give our blessing that makes sense. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, because I don't want the board to be in a position either of having somebody knock on the door of South Florida and say they are not properly complying with the permit by not properly maintaining the ability to utilize the lake maintenance easement. I mean,
But we have some real, tough ones that have come, because you have people that have come here that have bought the house, who bought the house from somebody else, who bought the house from somebody else, who bought it from Lennar, and Lennar built it wrong. What do you do?
You
What do you
follow,
do?
once you get to
I
that,
mean, in other words, where you have not a tree, not a planting, not a dog burial or anything else, but you get the house
and
that's inside the 20 feet.
and that has happened again. The board looks
then
at
we'll
those
address that.
on a case-by-case
But I don't
basis.
want to necessarily start bringing up what ifs and what ifs. Like, if that happens, we'll address that when that happens.
And
Like,
that's
we
it.
have a full plate right now. So let's deal with the requests that we have now. And let's come up with a solution for that. Let's come up with the criteria, have staff and Tetra Tech work on that, bring it to the board. We give our blessings, and then going forward, they're utilizing the criteria in addition to the application and any fees that are associated with that, and then we'll make our decision. I think that's clean
So-
and it's easy.
So,
And will we
so
have
per-
time to impasse on 130 with the
We'll
updated
have a
process?
conversation with staff, but I think we
So
have time.
to be clear, because the last policy that this board as a whole adopted was
Mhm.
clear cutting the LME, and that is how we're proceeding with 130 and then
It's
the
not
other
like there's a lot of
ponds. So
time.
then, excuse me,
I'll just ask you
excuse
to
me.
interrupt me.
So that is the policy that we are proceeding with until this board chooses to change that decision.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that decision needs to be changed quickly.
Okay, because the contractor is mobilized today on 130.
Thank you.
Well, I'm a little uncertain as to what we're going to do on 130. Are we going to start taking everything out?
So
Well,
that-
General-
I don't think they necessarily start within 2 weeks, given that they don't start cutting it like on
Flavia.
day one.
Yes,
They
Well,
are?
the thing that's problematic on this is that we send out a notice to the people that if you don't take it down, we will. All that's doing is adding to the cost of the project that everybody else picks up. We need to resolve the issue, because if it's
Yeah,
an
but we
issue
knew that,
that is.
Ed. I don't say I
all
agree,
along.
but that has, nothing's changed with that.
I'm understanding that, but my point is that if you have a tree that's at, let's say, 13 feet, 14 feet, 15 feet, why do we need to increase the cost of the project?
Well, but from what I remember of the discussion, if the tree is at 13 feet and the homeowner loves it and wants to put it at 18 feet, we're not going to cut it down. We're going to give them an opportunity to relocate it.
Yes,
That's what we talked about.
Yes.
But the letters that go out indicate if you don't remove it, we will take it down.
Well, absolutely. That's exactly what we said.
That's exactly what the letter says.
Yes,
That we give ample notice for them to move Grandmama Lucy's tree or the.
Now, I'm not opposed to reconsidering all these variances. All I'm saying is we're at the point where the contractor's there. Why wasn't this discussed a lot sooner?
Because the residents didn't come in until now.
Okay.
So
So I just want to make sure we're not getting into this trouble.
For at least 90 days. It's been brewing.
So you have
190
two,
and-
you have two,
190 and, what is it?
I believe we voted on the clear-cut policy.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
September or October.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Maybe
I
even
mean,
before
It
that.
isn't. that-
new, it's not a new issue.
This is not a new issue, and
The letters are out really
That's-
soon.
that's what passed this board, and that's our policy.
And we're not going to hear about any
Now, if you
future.
want to bring it up, Ed, as a separate agenda item on another meeting to
That's-
change the policy,
I think that's what
then
we're
we can
doing.
have a discussion
Yeah.
about that. But it is not on the agenda today. I think we need to move forward.
And so if Doug, I agree with what Doug's saying. We need to revisit it. So at the January 16th
Well, that's
meeting.
great, but I'm back to they're starting to take the trees down.
and the policy is to clear cut right now.
And right now, that's our policy. So we want to take action on that item today.
You have
And if,
one encroachment request on today's docket that is on
and
pond.
if we did, does that put us behind the 8 ball that now schedule's got to slide? I mean, we've been behind the 8 ball on this.
Oh, yeah.
And we got a couple that are held up. Now, every community is just temporary. I don't want to get on a soapbox, but every community knows we're doing this, the 20 foot. That's out on the street. Nobody says anything until it's time to do their pond. Let's try and get this.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Well, we have one that has come forward with a request for a waiver, in particular on 130, that where this issue is.
Not a waiver.
Can we just not
Brilliant.
use waiver today? Let's use that on the 32nd.
Encroachment request.
Thank you. So as of right now, I see two. I see one on
There's
Hidden
three.
Links.
Yeah.
And then I see one and,
One's on 130, which is the pond that the contractor is mobilized
And
today.
one on 109.
109, the contractor has not.
okay, so
mobilized.
so the one on Hidden Links is 130 and then the one, okay. On.
So 130 is the priority to get quick action.
So I did visit that process, so I'll give you some feedback on, I did see the pictures on the palm trees.
Well, Madam Chair, should we just take agenda item 11E right now? Since that's what we're talking about?
Yes,
And
thank you.
Since we've had this discussion?
Yeah, I think
Let's just go to 11E.
So let's go ahead and move that. So we saw, I don't need any comments right now. So we got the pictures that are in the board book. I went on site and I took some pictures. And I wanted to follow up with staff regarding the maintenance that was done on that pond. And then I didn't email this out, but I can show you guys. This is my concern. The ruts, we have the ponds are lower now, so there is no, the water level is low, and we also, the weirs are open, right? So the water level is very low, and if you see what the tire marks are for this, it's,
We're not all.
yeah, we're not, I'm gonna show it to each of you. So the
And
water,
Madam Chair, if you could, afterwards for the record, make a
I
copy
will.
for staff. Thank you.
so the water level is low because the
Right.
weirs are open and because it's low. Usually the water is here, and you see where the tire marks are? So half of the property has that issue. So imagine water level high up, then
Not much room.
there is not much room. Not all of the royals and not all the, it's just half. So if I'm facing the home, it's onto the left side. So it's something that I almost think like a survey needed, but you can see it. And
Yep,
it's
very clear.
It's very clear, and I'll show it to you guys. The water level is down, you can see the property survey is right here. And we're already with, over here, you know, with the water level being down. So imagine the water coming all the way over here. You do not have enough space right here.
When you took that picture, Flavia, where was the water relative to control?
I did not go into look at the control, but I did have a conversation with staff that the weirs were lower. I mean, just given over here, given that the Latours are all dead, I'm assuming control is right about here.
It's where the grass is.
Yeah. Well,
So, and then the tire marks are, and then, like, again, it's not the entire property, but this is within 4 feet.
I'm sorry.
Right here, it's like 4 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't measure, but again, the pictures here show, and you can see what the water level is, and then the picture, when I saw the ruts there, I was like, oh, this is a clear example of why
It's a problem.
it's a problem. And I'll send you those. Okay.
Now, are these,
So does anybody want to make a motion? Let's
well,
start
I have
with a
one
motion.
more question just for my understanding. The trees that I'm looking at on page whatever, one that's right here now,
19.
those are the trees there's an open space behind them and another development, correct? This isn't behind people's homes.
No, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah,
It
these
is
are
Then
behind.
I'm thinking of a different place. That's what I wanted to know.
Right here.
There's your picture.
Oh, okay, never mind. Wrong place.
And these were all put in per permit of Gateway Greens DRC years ago.
Which we will supersede that. So so you can actually see the ones that I'm concerned are the ones right here, and you can see how close they are to
Got
the
it.
water.
Got it.
Those I did not see a problem up to probably the middle here. And then from here on,
What is the appropriate action that we would take? Would basically to accept the encroachment and authorize the owner to submit the paperwork? Or an
No,
encroachment?
the agenda packet has the proposed,
he has all except that he does not have an application filled and the fees are not paid. So I
Yeah.
do not know if he knows or not, but I wouldn't be opposed to make a decision, and if it is approval, that it's approval with the contingency that we receive a complete
Easement
package
use.
and easement use. and
agreement,
with-
because
yeah.
one of the other, yeah, I think the Tiberio one has the easement use agreement
Yes,
in the
and-
packet.
And that's what I
the
was
typical
saying.
form.
Pelican Preserve is the only one that I can look and say, that's the entire package, that's what we should be looking at. And
So you're saying that we want to tell Gordon to resubmit his application?
he never submitted an application.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to a while ago. What do we need? We need to have, if we're going to allow him to proceed with an encroachment, he needs to file the proper paperwork.
It would be, if you chose to approve contingent upon receipt and cash payment, full process of the easement use agreement, which will come back to the board at a later date for ratification.
And all necessary exhibits,
All,
because
yes, all documents.
there's a narrative exhibit and a graphic exhibit that depict the
Do we
nature.
have, Tony, these guys aren't attorneys. Where do they go find this stuff?
It's on our website. We're actually getting ready to make it.
Bullshit. That's not the way we do business. These are our neighbors and friends. We need to be able to inform them of what's going on. This is absolute bullshit.
I think
Okay,
a while back, we worked on I'll call it an instruction sheet in a
And-
form
and
and
did
a
that
step
go
by
out?
step.
I will make the motion then to authorize or suggest that this owner at Hidden Links go on ahead and file the encroachment request for the royals that are on his property.
We don't need a motion for that, he can go ahead and do that.
Well,
I
I
think
thought
the
we
mo-
needed to
no,
give
I-
him some
no.
advice of what we're
No,
we're
the motion
doing.
that needs to be made is either we are going to approve the request for him to keep all those trees upon receiving the application
Proper
and
submittal.
the proper submittal. So either we're gonna say yes or no to what he wants now, pending him sending the application. If we say yes and he doesn't send the application, it's gonna be a no. If we say yes and he sends the application, sends everything else, that's a yes. So
Okay.
that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
My concern with this property, again, because I visited that property, is that half of the trees, so I guess for this one, I would like to call the homeowner back and ask if he's willing to reconsider either all, because I do believe that, and again, I'm not an engineer, and I went there on my flip-flops and, my book. So I think there are 4 or 5, and it's the smaller size, that those will need to be removed regardless. The other ones, I think we can kind of work around, but then again, it's staff and everything else. So I think I needed the homeowner to know, does he want to stick with, I want everything, or I want the most of that I can keep? Does that make sense, Ford? Because I will be honest with you, it will be a no for me, given that half of them it doesn't look like they'll be able to work on it. But I don't want to just say no when he's willing to save the other ones and maybe just relocate 3 further into his property.
Hey, Flavia, what's the address on this one?
It is 11991 Hidden Links Drive.
11919 Hidden Links?
11991 Hidden Links Drive. And then if you open it up, it's my concern area. If you look in Alipa, is right where you have the numbers. You can kind of see it adjacent to 220, between 230 and 220.
Well, I went out, looked at it myself, and I
Come to
see
the podium.
no problem whatsoever with either construction or maintenance. There is a tree down there in that far southwest corner that's not a broil. It's kind of a shag palm that's come in. That, what? Small one.
I'll just, Marty, I'll just
That-
have you guys
that is-
switch, because
that
I
is
have questions for them.
problematic.
I'll just have you guys switch.
My comment is for you,
There is no
Yes.
comments. Are
because
you asking for comments
this-
from the public right now?
this is a public meeting, and I'm offended by the foul use of language here. So you need to control the board and not use foul language.
Thank you, Marty. Just a reminder to the board, we stay respectful and within all our conversations.
Hey, thanks for
So-
coming out and looking, by the way. The tire
Thanks
marks,
for not like calling the cops on me.
hey, anybody can walk back. I hope you made yourself a cocktail at the bar. behind the house. The tire marks that are back there are from my landscaping guy that was just there. The maintenance that's been there, the maintenance that's been done by you guys has never been a problem, and he's never left marks. That was from my landscaping guy getting too close to the edge. But, so the maintenance,
Which concerns me even more, because the lawnmower, it's less than 5 feet, and our little maintenance is a little bit bigger than that.
well, he's been going back there since I've moved there, and there's never been a problem, even when the water was high.
Behind the
So,
trees.
if they wanted to take the
And- and
Bismarcks
that-
out,
And that's my concern, because we do know, they do it over there, like,
If-
not-
if they wanted to take the Bismarcks out, I'd say no problem. If you leave my Royals, that'd be great.
going by my pictures, I think the Royals are not the problem, I think is what Ed mentioned.
That's I love my Royals. They're expensive.
That's
They've been
the
there a long
Bismarck right
time.
there on the end.
The Bismarcks, if you want to take the Bismarcks, I'll
It is a-
negotiate with you. You can have the Bismarcks, and if you let me keep my Royals, I'll be happy.
Right?
Are they
So here-
alternate
so here you
Bismarck
have
Royal,
six.
Bismarck
Correct.
Royal?
Yes.
This one's here, is, yeah, okay. All right, so your request that you're gonna be filling out will be saying that what you want is to keep the Royals and the other ones you're willing to part with it.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, are we amenable to that solution, Flavia?
Well, we have as a board to make a decision on that solution. So that he just updated his request right now. He doesn't want to keep all of them because now he has some understanding. And, looking at the picture that the board just did, I know you didn't, but he wants to keep the Royals and just remove the other ones, which the other ones are the ones that are closer to the water's edge.
Okay.
So the motion would be, or the approval that we're talking about would be for the 7?
I
Or nine.
think it's 5 Bismarcks.
No, Royals.
I would just
Oh,
say-
the
I
7,
would just
there's
say-
7
Royals.
I'll just
Royals,
say
To
Royals.
retain the 7 Royals.
All right.
but there's 2 Bismarcks that are way outside 20 feet.
Those are fine. to
Yeah,
stay.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
To
isn't-
the extent they're outside the easement area, that's not.
That's
Of
not-
no
Right.
concern.
It's
Yeah,
not within the concern.
gotcha.
So we need a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
What's the motion?
Sorry.
What's the motion?
The motion
specifically?
is to retain the 7, allow the owner to retain the 7 Royals that's on the back of his property and to submit an application accordingly,
And the fees.
And the
And
fees.
pay the fees and then the application.
whatever.
He follows the procedure.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
follow
Tony,
the-
did he miss
as
did he
part of
miss
the
anything else on
Authorize,
that?
authorize execution of it upon district council, district staff being satisfied with the application, because they're going to be graphics and everything else. That can be part of the motion also.
Can we be specific on the Bismarcks that are within the easement area to be removed, just so it's clear we don't need to touch the ones that are outside?
The way the,
We're only talking about within the LME, Doug.
correct, the
Yeah,
only
okay.
document will just address allowing encroachment of the royal palms, will have a graphic site plan that will show the exact location of these palms, for the royal palms, that they will be
Okay.
allowed to remain.
All right, I'll second Ed's motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion by the board? No, we'll go ahead and call it for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose? Aye. 4-1, motion passes.
All right.
And now is there going to be a date certain that we have this all in by February 1st, which I think is
No,
reasonable?
January 16th.
January 9th.
Oh, wait, the application?
Yeah, I mean, all, because
We
you
can
got to
do it
give
today.
direction to the
That's what I thought.
vendor tomorrow
Yeah, he can get it.
It's approved contingent upon it. I will give direction to the vendor tomorrow.
to not touch the royals no matter what for now.
This is at the end of Hidden Links Drive, and the
can
the
start going
vendor's got
around.
about 800 feet. to
So it's
get to
not the
this
first
point.
thing to do.
Not the
Okay.
first thing to do.
All right.
Clear at the end.
The contractor, Bob, the contractor's waiting on the change order for time and materials today in order to proceed with the removal of the
Office
vegetation.
is open till 4:30?
Pardon?
Our office is 4 or 4:30?
4.
4.
And I
Don't
will
call it
add, when the
401.
contractor came a year and a half ago, he said, all of these are no problem.
Policy has
Thank you.
changed. So.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
But again, we're not gonna have enough time for anybody else, is that correct, in Hidden Links?
I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna just ask, why I love the engagement that we're having. If you're going to speak, I want you to address the board and allow us to allow you to speak, because it has been an hour and we're still on the same topic. So thank you.
Okay.
And then if you like, I will go ahead and open it up, and I also have to leave. I'll take this on the phone. So go ahead.
It's just a question. I think what I'm understanding is that there won't be enough time for anybody else to react in the neighborhood. So I think what you're telling me, things are rolling. Am I correct?
Yes, I think
Yes,
you are.
yes.
That's what I've
So
heard.
everybody else is, we're cooked.
Well, there's nobody else here, although you're representing them, obviously.
Yeah, just for the record, again, perhaps maybe I'm out of it, but the first time I knew that I even had to come here to put in a request was a couple of days ago. And the letter that we got in November was
Yep.
the first time I even heard about the 20 feet. I'm sure there was probably other communications, but no one came around and talked to us personally to say, we got this rolling here now. We were promised we were going to get a letter prior to this time when Daniel came out. That didn't happen. And so I think we're getting caught by the short hairs here, and I am pissed. I want that on the record.
Okay, Ronald, just to clarify,
'Cause I think
we
the
had
letter-
email communication between you and I back in November.
It was November.
17th.
November 17th.
Correct.
Is where I have on my records,
Yes.
okay? But I was also told that we were going to get an update on the timing and the things that we were going to need to be required. That never happened, and I have that in writing also on the 19th. Okay, and that was a letter from Daniel. And he agreed that we would be getting an update letter, what we needed to do. Never happened.
Okay.
I will follow up with staff regarding that.
Okay.
Because I don't
Well,
think. yeah.
Ronald, like we mentioned earlier in this meeting, I told you I would get you an update tomorrow with
Yep.
the appropriate applications.
I appreciate that. On the other hand, what you're also telling me is we don't have time.
If you are interested, we can have conversation.
I'm here for the neighborhood. I'm
I-
gonna be running around the neighborhood, and I don't even know if I've got time for that. You'll need to tell me that.
Okay,
Okay.
if you can let me finish.
Thank you.
If what I'm hearing is that you have interest of saving certain vegetation, reply back to us tomorrow. The stakes and survey have been
I
done.
personally do, but I'm not here for just me.
Understood.
Okay.
So as soon as,
Ron-
as soon as you get that email tomorrow, just pass it on to the residents and then they'll start reaching out to us.
Here's a casual comment, and I'm not aiming at any one group or person. But we sit here month after month. All the meetings are public. All the meetings are broadcast. All the agendas are published. Everybody knows that we're doing something. They may not know the details, but all they have to do is tune in and they can hear it. And boy, if somebody's dropping a flag on my property, I'll damn well be there. I'll come. I'll find out.
So I think we would have had time.
Ron, do you have an idea how many owners are impacted
At
by
least
this?
a half a dozen that I know of. Okay.
Okay.
We had a lot of people here today. This is unusual. I got to tell you, we usually
Yeah.
perform to an empty room.
I understand this. I understand this.
I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I have to go. I'll take it on the phone.
So is he gonna run the meeting from here?
So I'll have Ed run the rest of the meeting. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay.
You have the team's meeting.
Okay, where are we going back
I'm
to?
asking.
We were in
Local
public
changes.
comment.
Number 6.
May I have a moment, please?
We don't have anything for local achievements and recognitions, I don't think.
Joe Schofield from Carina Pelican Preserve. The 20-foot easement is for drainage. South Florida Water Management District's easement for maintenance is 10 to 15 feet. And that can be double checked very easily. So part of your problem is not 20 feet, it's 10 to 15 feet for maintenance purposes. Pelican Preserve is going to be doing some maintenance on my pond. And my pond, per my map of my property, the surveyor's map, I have 10 feet, of which 5 feet is in the water, which means if they need 10 feet, they need to get my approval to come onto my property to do any work. And that would include every house on my side of that pond.
Let's see here from the council on that. This is the first I've ever heard this. Are we saying that 20 feet is not uniform in the district?
My understanding is South Florida Water Management District requires a 20-foot lake maintenance easement around all lakes and ponds that it permits.
But my question is, what does the permit, what did the plats for
I don't know, I
Pelican
don't have
Preserve
that in
show?
front of me. And Joe, I'd have to
Okay.
look at this specific.
I just looked it up, Tony, and what I have is in Southwest Florida, the easement required for pond maintenance is 10 to 15 feet from the normal water line. The slope on a man-made pond or lake bank is 4 to 1, 4 feet horizontal, 1 foot vertical.
Right.
I know that my plat shows a 10-foot easement. I also will refer to something that happened a number of years ago here with Carina and the board and WCI, where they found out that the easement for the flowway was in the water. And Pelican Preserve, Carina worked
That
out.
was an issue of whether it was built correctly.
Well, yeah, but the what you had was a 20-foot easement. 10 foot was for CDD maintenance, and then there was another 10-foot easement for the Carina maintenance, which equaled 20 feet. What was done was the 10-foot CDD easement that was underwater was transferred to the Carina 10-foot. So you still have only 10 foot of maintenance easement along the flowway, which if there's damage done, as I recall, by any gateway services would be corrected. So Carina doesn't have to have that expense.
We need to look at this.
Okay.
I was of the understanding that everything in Gateway had a 20-foot LME. Bob, you've done this so much over in your community.
It's automatic, but I can't say I can
Well,
cite
it's-
chapter and verse.
I know my plat shows 10 feet.
Okay.
I know that when we did it with Carina and the CDD, the easement there along the flowway behind Carina is now
Well, you're absolutely
10 feet.
correct about that. I
Yes.
remember that well.
That could
Yes.
be- that- yeah, I
And,
remember that
I've just
discussion.
looked it all up, and I could read you where it says there's a 20-foot easement for drainage only. So you got 20 feet for drainage, 10 feet for maintenance.
So
I think-
on the map, it says DE, not LME.
On my plat, it shows that, yes. So,
That could be problematic then
Okay.
on our policy.
yes, I just wanted to, thank you for listening.
Well, you'll get us check, we'll get a check now for sure.
Let's go on. Local achievements and recognition,
We don't have anything for that.
nothing.
No.
Advisory committee items, we have, I think, a proposed park and recreation advisory committee member appointment.
I'll move
Just move-
to approve 7A.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
I'll
Approve.
move to approve the minutes of, well, I'll move to approve 8A, B, C, and D.
I'll second.
Dog.
A, B,
So all
You
of
wanna
them, all
approve
of the
B?
minutes.
you want to approve them all?
Yes.
Okay. If you're happy with them, I'll be happy with them, because I thought there would be a discussion about 8B on the lack of information at the public hearing we had, because we didn't have a good audio system.
Recordians and all that
So
stuff.
But
it
there's
is what it
nothing we
is.
can do about it.
I'm glad.
I mean,
We
sent
agree.
we sent it back one time. I expressed my displeasure.
We sent
with-
it back 3 times. Georgia
3
listened
times
to it.
with
We've
what
tried
happened.
AI on it. We've tried everything we can to get more, and that's
They
all
Gotcha.
can't
they're
do
told.
anything. Let's move on.
Great, we have a motion.
Just as a note on that also, Staff has contacted the various speakers that had presentations
Yes.
and asked that they be submitted. Rod Senior sent his in today. And so we requested that be made part of the minutes of that meeting also.
Great. Okay, I saw that in there. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second to?
Not second.
Okay, thank you, Bob. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? 4-0. Consent agenda items. Anybody have any consent agenda item to pull?
I don't. I'll move on.
Hold on.
I'll
You're
move
still
on.
on.
We're not there yet.
Not there yet.
I move on consent agenda items A, B, C, and D, as in dog,
Which is all of them.
which is all of them.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, 4-0.
I do have a question for Bob, though. How many more do we have? This, number B was.
Two.
Vina,
We have two more,
2 more.
and I believe I haven't got the paperwork yet, but I think staff has. Chelsea has the last two. One is the PPCA and the other is the, Palazzo.
We're watching.
So if,
2 more.
2 more, and
Okay.
if I get that paperwork this week, I'll get it to, or next week. But we're finally at the light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, thank you.
District engineer who's online. Stephen?
Not today.
Nothing?
Nope, not today.
Okay, moving on quickly. 11A, Tetra Tech authorization change order 3, Commons Park and admin. This is for construction-related services.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any questions on that?
I just want to make a comment that this is a huge number. Is this everything?
Yes, ma'am. So the number is so large because it's the time of the estimated time of construction. So it's a not to exceed number. So if the contractor finishes early, we'll save on that. So it's an estimated X amount of hours per week, and there's Y number of weeks for construction.
And what happens if they exceed it?
It would have to come back to the board for approval.
Now, this does
Okay.
not include resident inspection. Is that correct?
It's got vertical and site work.
But not full-time resident inspection?
Correct.
That's a separate contractor?
No, that we did part-time resident.
We're just
inspection.
going part-time?
Yes.
Okay. So then that would answer your question. Yes, that would be the end of it, as long as there's no change orders or anything else that come up and that hits it. Okay, change order in the amount of $404,820 to Tetra Tech for construction-related services. Is there a motion to approve? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Why did you make it 404 instead of the 965?
404 is the amount of this change order. It's for the construction-related services only. It makes their total contract, changes their total contract now to $965,000 out of $6, $7, $8, $9 million, which is in line of what typical job would be.
$1 million to go to engineers on a $7 million building.
It's about, well, it's not the building, it's the park and the building, so it's a total of about $8.5, $9 million. No, that's not out of line. That's in the ballpark. That's about the going rate. I'm sorry? Worth the money. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay,
No. Aye.
I'm
I or
opposed.
no?
I'm
against
opposed.
it.
Okay, so is Flavia online?
Nope. So if it dies, it dies.
So
Dies, it dies. Okay.
Okey-doke,
So we'll bring it back to you at the next meeting.
next meeting.
Keep bringing it back till you get a yes.
I'm sorry.
It's required as part of this project. So if
Yeah,
you want
you
to,
can't do anything without it.
the
You have to
engineers
have
to
it.
make sure that it's being constructed appropriately and per plans, you need to have this.
Community branding survey results, final logo adoption. We had somebody from the audience
No.
that made a decision on this earlier.
Made a comment on it.
Made a comment
Oh,
on this, that it was not representing, perhaps not representative of Pelican Reserve interests.
Not interest.
Well,
Doesn't
it
represent the
doesn't-
entire
doesn't-
community.
Yeah,
And I voiced that when we were talking about it.
It wasn't inclusive.
No, it's
Yeah.
not
I
inclusive at
don't, I
all.
don't know what that would be. I think Doug maybe was looking at that other logo option was something that did not look so to be totally gateway oriented with the trees.
So the board requested us to put this out to survey for public consumption, and option one very clearly was the overwhelming choice.
Did that survey go to everybody in the district?
Yes.
And it went to Pelican.
Want to make sure Arborwood was included.
Everyone in the district.
And C5,
So what do we?
So this was just a FYI, the results of the survey. This is the logo that we're going to go with. We will have the designer come back and wrap up this project.
At this point in time, is the Pelican people going to be supportive of this?
I'm not, I
proposal?
personally am not.
I don't want to sit here and waste time. We're going to be 2-2.
I mean, I don't need an action. This is just a follow-up report of the survey results.
Okay.
Wait, but in Pelican's current logo and what Pelican uses within Pelican continue to use.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing if Stony Brook or Gateway Greens in your sub-communities, you can still use logo. This just represents the logo for Gateway, you know, as a whole, and primarily Gateway Services.
Are we looking, if we're not looking for an motion, what is just information to help our day along?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the next step if we're going to do something?
The designer will come back and present this final selected option with all of the color palettes and the designs and the fonts and the textures and all of that stuff at a follow-up meeting.
I'm just gonna add, if we're doing a logo change, a branding change, if we're not unanimous on the board, I have concerns. Because if the five of us that represent Gateway as a whole, if we are not unanimous in a brand change, that's concerning for me. Just throwing it out there.
You know, I agree with you on that. Okay. I'm not going to be making a decision on that at this point in time. 11C, easement use agreement request.
Ed, I have Flavia on the phone. If you want to allow her to join us with circumstances.
Okay.
Flavia, I'm going to mute.
Yeah, I need to have a motion.
Kip? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
let's have a motion to allow, Flavia to participate remotely
So moved.
Finding exceptional circumstances.
So
Finding
moved.
with exceptional circumstances.
for the exceptional circumstances.
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second? I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. You didn't vote. Okay.
No, it's a vote. I mean, you have to vote one way.
You
So
have, yeah.
I voted not to vote.
you can't. You cannot abstain unless there's a
Aye.
ballot.
Thank you.
I will move to send agenda item 14C to the pond subcommittee.
11C.
11C.
11C, I'm sorry, 11C to the pond subcommittee for their comments.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. The thing I saw on that one is, and I'm hoping that the Pelican Reserve people, because that's why I raised this question, saw that whole street has got, again, and the comment was raised a while ago about the plat that now has me totally, I don't know where we're going. It looked to me like the drawings on LIPA showed that there was a 20-foot LME. Now, LIPA's
Sure.
not,
On this property?
yes.
Yes, there's a lake maintenance easement.
Well, you were out when the discussion came up a while ago, that they don't have 20-foot LMEs in Pelican Reserve.
Okay, well, regardless, the property owner was notified as part of the approval with the city that no landscaping were to be put into that easement without approval of the district.
But what easement?
I'd have to go back and look. And pull
Okay,
it, if
the
Al has it
issue
already.
that came up, because you weren't in here, The issue that came up is that, go ahead.
This is with the city of Fort Myers, as opposed to Southwest Florida, et cetera, et cetera.
Understand,
Water
but
management.
a plat is a plat, and an easement is an easement. If it's a 20-foot LME or a 10-foot LME, it is a big difference on this one here, because a 20-foot LME is one necessary to do what he's asking for. If it's a 10-foot LME, I'm of the opinion that he doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to come to us because he's not interfering. So I
Well,
think
we-
we need an answer.
we can get an
Tony,
answer
as
from
to whether
Tony
or
on
not
that.
This is a legal issue. Is there a need for a request for a waiver or a request?
And we're not going to resolve that tonight, so that's.
I've been
I don't
having
think-
trouble loading the clerk's
Legal.
office plats. I've been trying for a half an hour.
But by putting it before the,
Well,
I think if
I
we send
agree
it
with you.
back to the ponds
I agree
committee,
with you.
That'll
they
give us
can
time to
research the legality as well as the actual permits. from
In
the city.
light of what was presented earlier by a resident, I agree with
raises
you.
a question.
And
We need to-
also,
we need
just so
to
you
weigh
know,
it.
the city of Fort Myers is not closing out this permit until they hear back from us.
Okay.
But we don't, my thing is that that was a shocker, what he brought up a while ago, is that the 20-foot LME is not applicable in Pelican Preserve. That is a shocker.
Well,
Everything we do in Gateway is on
We've
the
been doing
basis
it
that
with
we're-
20 feet all along. We may have been doing it wrong, but we've been doing it with 20 feet.
Okay, we need an answer.
Okay.
I agree, it needs to be tabled.
All right, so you're gonna send it. You
I made a motion.
And it was
Are you
seconded.
gonna second it?
I did. I seconded it.
Oh,
All-
Bob
Yeah, Bob
seconded.
seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. that-
Opposed? Didn't hear anything. 11D, Lake Maintenance Easement Waiver Request. This is Dick Murner, Lake 109. Basically, same issue. Issue of we've got trees that are in the LME. The issue is that a restrictive problem to either construction and/or maintenance. Yes, Flavia?
Okay, so I visited this property too, and it's the same thing. I believe the palm trees are not necessarily the issue, but the bush in between the palm tree, close on the left side of the property, if you're facing the property, that particular bush it's further down in the embankment, and then I also noticed there's a big erosion there. So I wasn't necessarily sure, and I guess that would be a question for Tetra Tech or staff, if part of the erosion, part of the remediation included adding soil to that property, because I saw the marker, and the marker on this property was on the water, on the left side if you face the property. So I had questions on that one.
Are you saying then that the triple palms, the 3 or 4 sets of them, those could be a deal for discussion and approval, but the bush is problematic?
Yes. And then
We need to take a-
Hold on,
We need to
Bob,
take a
hold on,
recess.
we
Bob's
lost-
got to-
We have
We
to
lost
take a
quorum
recess.
because
We
Bob
lost the
stepped
quorum.
out.
And the time is now
We're taking
Four-
a recess.
4:17 PM.
Ed, you want to call for a recess?
Yeah, we'll call for a recess till we get a quorum back. Hopefully it'll be a couple of minutes. Flavia, Bob walked out of the meeting.
Okay.
I would suggest that, again, not having dialogue or conversation, if there's going to be anything, needs to be all on the record.
I'll get it with Susie.
And from the podium,
I'm sorry?
and from the podium, so we could,
Do you have Leva, plats? See what the plat shows for that address. Pelican.
You wait for the, unless it's
I'll
the
step
Chelsea.
out.
Okay.
I'll step out.
And I sent you a copy of that stuff. Send it to everybody.
Thank you, Joe.
I think. Thank you. I hope it's not a problematic issue. That's a nightmare. Did you find it on the plats?
The clerk's office has been pokey. I finally had to get my laptop. I couldn't access it on my iPad. It's crazy. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, here we go.
And what was that address again, Joe?
Nico Drive, Town Center. They tried to sell alcohol.
Yeah, I know. What is the answer to our financial problems? Drink more.
Listen, after watching one guy drive into the pond, that was going down. And now we people going down the wrong side of the street. My days of calling up, couldn't even talk straight. He's from India. Try to listen to him over regular conversation. Dog drowned? Huh? His dog drowned? Yeah, the guy who drove into the pond, he just got out, but the dog didn't.
Hey, Joe, you're lot 85 or 84? Are you lot 85 or 84?
She's not here.
Geez, I don't know.
She stepped out.
Can I take this?
You're right.
There's a lot of trees in my backyard. We got the picture.
No, this is the plat.
Oh.
This is screener phase 2.
Fourth house down.
Right here. They changed the name right around. Right here. Here we go.
Separate committee. Subcommittees. This way.
Cypress Grove.
Yeah.
And we're saying.
Right here.
Right, this is it, right?
Yes. Which street are you on?
We're right here, Julia.
Right here. Okay.
Here he comes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right,
It's,
Bob is back. It's 4:22.
Yeah, let the record show at 4:22, we're back to a quorum. And we'll resume the meeting. We were on item 11D, and as I understood Flavia, she had no issue with the person coming in, Ms. Werner coming in with the request for the, go ahead.
Just a question. So 109, the only one that we're starting right now is 130. Wouldn't be more reasonable for having us have 109 be reviewed at the 16th meeting? Because by that time, we'll have somewhat of a criteria set up by staff and Tetra Tech and approved by us, and then we'll look at it. Because I don't want to just to go by what I saw when I was on site. That doesn't allow the other board members to see what I saw. So given that 109 is not something that we're going to start now, can we wait until the 16th?
So Flavia, you want this table till the next meeting?
Yes, because mobilization is only happening on 130 right now.
Okay, there's a motion made by
I'll
Flavia.
second it.
Well, motion made by Carol and second by Bob to table this, Dick to come into the meeting at the 16th, at which time we hope to have an answer of what the philosophy is that we're going to use going forward on the setbacks on these trees.
And also that the proper paperwork and all the other
Yeah,
stuff
yeah, and all the other
that be
stuff that would
submitted
have
at
to be
that time.
done.
All right.
Did you?
I purchased that property from the original owner
in 2003, 2002. That property had oak trees there. And in 2003, we got Mr. Hurricane Charlie and took trees down. So Louis came and cut down the trees, planted Christmas palms 1 foot closer to the house, you know. Now, the presumption is that in order to get permits, everything had to be the spec. Whatever the specs are, all right. Now, those palm trees are well within the specs of the original permitting, I believe, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
So when you say the permitting, you're talking about the Gateway Greens DRC?
In order to build a house and put in the trees and everything.
But I mean, the house was already built.
Okay.
No.
We have a motion on the floor. I just want to keep up with you guys.
Table it.
We have a motion and a second on the floor.
Yes, to table it to next meeting.
Yeah, well, this owner did not talk at the time. A lot of
Yeah,
it
right.
waited till
Somehow I got pushed.
till his subject came up. That's why I was affording him the opportunity to speak. I'm sorry?
I didn't have a slip for public comment.
Well, you jump from having people talk about asking for waivers to 11.
At this point in time, Dick, what we're going to do is we're going to postpone it till we have a decision of what our position is going to be on this entire deal. And then if what Flavia is saying that she would go along with, she would look at, and I would agree, I've looked at it, that a waiver request or a encroachment would be allowed if you want to come in and put it in for that. We'd consider that. The issue appearing
However,
to
Mr.
be the
Chairman, that was
bush.
not, that is not my motion.
I understand.
My motion is just to table this to the next meeting.
Yeah, I just want to make sure he understands.
Yeah,
what
right.
we-
Well, and since 2016, I've been coming and sending emails requesting our pond be
Gotcha.
worked on, right?
Okay.
And all of a sudden now you're coming up with new specs,
That's what we're waiting on the bids.
you know.
Okay. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to postpone it until we have a decision of what is going to be the board's position on interference within the LME. Because right now, the standing deal is 20 feet.
Is there a motion? And a
There is a
second?
motion and a
Is
There's already a
second
motion to
to,
table. It's been motion to
The
table.
motion is to table.
And
second.
Nothing else.
Did you
of
call
what-
for the
motion
vote?
to table.
Did you call for the vote?
No, he
No,
hasn't.
that's what we're doing.
The motion to table has priority over all other motions.
Okay. Motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
What is the resident's address, sir?
Dick, what's your address?
What is your address?
11516 Mahogany Run.
516
11516 Mahogany Run.
Mahogany Run.
Third or fourth house on the right, Bob.
Yeah, I just want to know if I'm going to come over and look at it.
Huh?
I'll be over to look at it between
All right.
this next meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, or may I, just a moment, just following up, if I may, on what Mr. Schofield was presenting to the board. Pulled up the legal records reflect that Mr. Schofield, yeah, he mentioned 11507 Julia Drive, and that's lot 84 of Carina Phase 2. I retrieved the Carina Phase 2 plat, and in the rear of his property is a 20-foot LME and IE, which is an irrigation easement. So if he wants to look at it right here, if you
So
want to
they're
look at it.
overlapping.
Yes. That's okay, Joe. And then the lake tract is track L2, which is a lake, DE, LME, and AE, which is access easement. So,
Okay.
just, I was having problems with the web and access.
Okay.
Sorry it took so long.
11E,
No problem, Joe.
item 11E, we already made the discussion and have a understanding on. 11F, proposed new location of Public Works Maintenance Building. The only thing I saw on that is that building looks like it's not on our property.
It's not.
How,
So,
are
can you
we,
go to-
are we getting approval from the county to?
So I mentioned this a couple meetings ago where we had started to look back here
Yeah, and
in the very back and we hit
Water.
some, hit our head, hit some water. Yeah, thank you. And so, again, Doug had mentioned in a conversation with him was, hey, is there any other options, any other things that we can look at? And so in talking with the county and looking at what they have as their final build out of that plant expansion, if and when they ever do that, this was a viable location that we already met with the county utility staff. They said that they would agree to it. We could do an amendment to the interlocal, make it quick, simple. We don't want to spend a lot of time and money with attorney's fees, and do an agreement with them.
Remember to look, there's either you can do a lease or you can do a lease.
Yes,
A lease.
like a dollar lease.
Yeah, we already have a lease for the tanks, I think. if I'm not
Why in
mistaken.
that picture, can't we just move it northwest and put it inside our property? That, our property line is that dashed line, and I see green grass in there.
That is a retention. That's basically the only stormwater retention for this entire property. We did look at that, and
That's a retention basin?
It does fill up.
it was full to the brim the entire, all of last year, pretty much. So that is,
That's the only place we got left.
yeah. So the county said that we could put a storage facility right there. We've already worked through some of the logistics on it. But if you guys are willing and for us to move forward with this and abandoning what would have been way in the very back.
I'll move to approve this site as the new location for the Public Works Maintenance Building.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second that motion.
Okay, just discussion. Do we not have to, can we build stuff on property that we don't own?
Yes, a lease.
A lease, okay.
Yes, that's I suggest a lease.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Would you check and see if there's any water underneath that?
Yeah.
You want to do that again?
Yeah.
Pelican Reserve Parks and Recreation Survey results.
This is just a follow-up to the survey results that we put out the exact same survey that we did for the Gateway side. And as you can see, we had how many responses?
87. Is that the number I thought?
No, I think there was 7. Good with that.
You could definitely say that they don't want it.
So we
It's
had
trending that way.
80.
Trending that
We had
way.
89 responses.
And
No.
over 90% said they didn't want it, so.
No action
No
necessary
action,
on this
just a
at this
follow-up.
time. Okay. Item 11H, the engagement letter. I had a question on that. What was our contract value that we paid them last year? I don't remember it being $18,000.
Let me check.
So we are looking to bid this out, but because of timing constraints this year, the last time this was bid out, Infomark did it on your behalf, brought the information to you. We have to make sure with Tony that we're compliant with all of the Florida statutes. And so in order to get us some more time and through this upcoming audit, we'd like to just renew with Burger Toombs and then take the time, put out a true RFP for auditing services and bring it back to you for your decision.
So would this, is this like a month-to-month deal then? that
No,
they're doing?
this would be for this upcoming.
This will be for this year, for 2025.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was,
The 23-24 fiscal year.
2024, yeah.
this is $800 more than what we paid last time.
Okay, so it wasn't that far out of
No.
reach.
I'll move
And
to
then it-
approve.
Okay.
Motion to approve the engagement letter with our current auditor. Is there a second? I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay.
The next item, as amended per your agenda, was the add the ratification to approve the district manager's cancellation of the RFP 24-07-UT water meter replacement and advanced meter infrastructure.
Which, once the verification, it renders the hearing moot and cancels the hearing. It's recommended for approval.
Repeat that.
It renders the hearing moot, so it cancels the hearing.
Okay.
And we've already communicated that to all the parties.
So they're no
Tony,
longer
what is-
protesting?
What is the
No.
official motion that you need?
Motion to ratify the action of the district manager, canceling solicitation for RFP 24-07-UT and then canceling the hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Question on this, Tony.
Yes, sir.
The issue, is it too late for us? We're going to be putting this out for bid again, Monday. What is to keep this from happening again?
You can't never prevent anything, but we have had conversations, or the staff has had communications to clarify some of the questions that were raised. We're comfortable in the positions we had, in the legal positions we took throughout all this, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
And Chelsea and I will give you, we can talk.
Well,
with you about that.
essentially what we have is an issue I brought up years ago, and it sounds like it could be a problem, was there's nothing that I've seen here or in Florida statute, like up in North, you can't do a public works project unless you're the prime and you have greater than 51%. We don't have that here.
Okay, we've had discussions, we've addressed it, and that's what, we can have a separate conversation about that.
Okay.
Thank you, with Chelsea and myself.
So the issue is right now, this is out for rebid effective Monday.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully we have better light. District manager items.
The only thing, because we did not have a second meeting in December, we wanted to get you the November financials. You'll have the December financials as part of the 16th packet with the typical monthly reports. So I know a lot of the subcommittees like to see these numbers, so we wanted to make sure we got them out in a timely fashion.
Do we have, or has Stephen provided us with the final year-end number carryover that we had for 2024?
We have an estimated as unaudited.
What is the unaudited number?
I'd have to get back to you.
Ballpark.
1.2. In the general fund. Each fund has its own different carry forward.
Okay. So that's a heck of a lot more than we've had typically.
But we
Almost
knew that
double.
we knew that going into it because of the capital projects that we had delayed as part of the park project. Like we had $200,000 for the splash pad, et cetera.
Any board members have any question about the November financials?
No.
Any issues? Okay. Tony, district attorney.
Just working on a number of items as a follow-up to the Stony Brook matter. We set a follow-up call with counsel for the Stony Brook Master Association about different approaches that the parties can work in a collaborative manner, and we'll bring back to the board once we work out an approach that everybody's comfortable with as a follow-up to, as an alternative. Also, with regards to the bids and bid protest, working heavily with staff on that in the last couple of weeks with regards to that. Provided some information for the appraiser, and Chelsea's engaged the appraiser on the 2 parcels of land at Treeline and Colonial, provided the zoning and the DRI so that he can utilize that in his evaluation of the value of that property. And just a number of other matters that come up. If the board has any specific questions, happy to answer. Oh, Gateway Greens, working through that, working with Mark Adamczyk on the documents on that.
Okay.
And the board will need to make a policy decision as to how they want to approach that, take them, clean them.
Yeah, I'd like to have Chelsea add that to the agenda for the January meeting. We have a HOA meeting that morning, so the form of resolution, we will be able to have that at that meeting later in the afternoon.
Yeah, if the board wishes to proceed in that fashion, then all the documents will be in order.
Just so we're clear, what we're talking about is Gateway Greens Master Association is interested in conveying certain easement rights for drainages between and behind property owners, properties in Gateway Greens over to the district. So we would have partial responsibility, if not all responsibility, to maintain said drainage lines. So that'll be, Tony's been working with the HOA's attorney, and that'll be forthcoming at the January 16th meeting.
And why do they want to do that?
I think we're the only community in all of Gateway that has storm sewers that are not the responsibility of the CDD.
I don't know.
And they ought to be. Well, we know what happened. The developer wanted to save money and he shrunk up the lots and they couldn't get the standard 15-foot easement. And so consequently, he put into the covenants of the neighborhood association that the responsibility for the operation and maintenance of the sanitary or the storm sewer system is the master association of the HOA. And we don't have that anyplace else.
Is the reason Gateway Greens wants to pass that on to us is because they need repairs or replacements or anything like that?
All of the above.
So in other
We
words,
don't
you-
have the ability to do that. We weren't created to run a sanit or a storm sewer system.
So in other words, you want to pass the cost on to the district.
Want to pass,
homeowners
we want to pass the responsibility on to the district, just like everybody else in all of Gateway. The storm sewer systems are part of the CDD, not the association.
So why would we want to do that?
Yeah, they're not.
I'm carrying the message from the, Flavia, go ahead.
So hearing this, why would we take a approach any different than we would have been taken in the past with, if they want to convey to us, if it is within specs and if it's in good and operating condition, then we'll take it. But I'm in line with Kara, why would we take something that needs a repair that was just going to be a cost? Like kind of similar to B-Track for B14. We didn't take it, but we said we would, as long as it was in compliance, and then we'll move forward. So I'm kind of concerned, and I guess I'll look into it further at the next meeting. I wouldn't necessarily want to take something in that needs a repair. This is just solely for the purpose and reasoning of having a cost for the district.
Yeah, we do the same thing that we did before we take a community. Tetra Tech says we've inspected it and we're good.
It's very similar to what we did, I believe, help me, Tony, Hampton Park. When we took it over, they had a series of sewers that were under 15 inch and they were not included, and I believe we took those over. So
Yeah, the
we
board-
have precedents for doing it.
Yeah,
No,
the board did accept the conveyance of those, over a portion of the rear yards of Hampton Park, but I'm not sure whether they were inspected before, and I can go back and look. We can go back and look at
Yeah,
that later.
Well, I think it's just reasonable to make sure you're not getting a pig in a poke. You know, that someone's looked at it.
I'm
and
carrying
looks at
forward what the neighborhood association asked to be done. We've gone through the paperwork. Our attorneys worked with Tony, and I believe we have a package ready to go, and that.
It'll be forthcoming on the 16th for
It'll be
your
up on the
consideration.
16th, yeah.
That's going to be a hell of a meeting.
Busy meeting.
Going to be a long one.
Yeah.
Okey-doke. Tony, anything else?
That's all. Thank you.
Future board business. The 16th is going to be a long meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Russ, when will Russ have the paperwork so all of us can be reading it instead of having to read it at the meeting? 'Cause
A week in advance.
Okay, week in advance. Great, great.
So next Thursday.
Okay, so the workshop, there'll be a workshop
Yes, ma'am.
at 2:00. The workshop is solely on methodology.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can we also have an agenda item for methodology also on the agenda?
You must have been watching my computer today, because I made one.
No.
We always do both for those.
Sorry.
Budget.
Yes.
I have my own computer problems.
It's the same with like when we do the budget, we have the workshop and then we have an agenda. So you can make your decision.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, and
Any
then,
other, go ahead, go ahead.
no, I'll wait till supervisor comments.
Okay, that's next. You're up.
Okay. We all got your email about FEMA awarding of grant funding to the district and what the different things were. Congratulations on getting some money out of FEMA. That's pretty rare these days. Have we got the money yet? Okay, but usually when FEMA or a federal thing like that, sometimes there's little quirks or little things that the district, you have to agree to do a little something or other. Is, other than putting in our part of the money, are there any other things that we should be aware of that they're going to insist upon before actually?
Conditions.
Yeah,
So-
any conditions?
I'm waiting on the form of final agreement from FEMA. This is not my first HMGP grant that we've done. Similar to SRF, there are lots of paperwork that goes with it. So we will engage with Tetra Tech to assist us through that process. They worked with me on my HMGP grants when I was at the beach. So they know this like the back of their hand. Laura's going to pick up on some of it too, so she can learn on the financial side.
Okay.
But the $1 million that we were notified of award, that is only for the design portion of the ponds that we requested. We actually requested over $13 million. And so once we finish with the design, then the second phase is the remainder of the money for the construction dollars. And so we chose to do this as a phased approach over 5 years. So as soon as we can rush through and get the design done, once we get approval, because you can't pass go, don't collect $200.
Right.
Once you get that final approval, then you proceed and you can make it happen. But we have to match 25% of this grant,
25,
25%.
of both the design
The
and.
total.
Total. Any way we go, it's 25%.
Yes.
Not bad. Not bad. Carol, anything else?
Yes, warrants, fire warrants. Anything?
Pat Hayes will be here at your next meeting. He couldn't make today's meeting. He'll be here at the January 16th meeting for a brief update. I know he was working through on Lee Memorial, the healthcare, and then I sent the note to him. Tony had actually sent to me about Amazon, but I don't think the construction, but Pat said he was going to work with the city and see if they could pre-purchase them and have them credited on whoever's account. So he'll give you an update on the 16th.
Okay, thank you.
Some positivity for a change.
Yes.
Anything else?
No.
Bob?
I would like to just, I don't have anything for the group, but I want to know the two addresses we talked about for these encroachment requests. I have 11516 Mahogany Run. And what was the second one? The second one?
11991.
99.
Hidden Links Drive. It's, Gordon's house is the very end of Hidden Links at the cul-de-sac.
Hidden Links Drive, okay, they're the two I want to go see, that's all I've got.
Hidden Lakes,
And
right?
Hidden Links.
Links,
Links.
Links.
So, Happy New Year to everyone.
Doug, any supervisor comments?
No, nothing for me, and I apologize for not being on site today. I had plans to be there, and then I had some meetings run over, so I apologize.
Flavia?
I don't have any, but I just wanted to ask Chelsea if she could just give an update on the lift station in Stony Brook, because we did receive an email, and I was also on site with the vendor and Bill. If you can just give a little recap for where we stand, and I don't have any comments. And thank you guys for allowing me to join remotely.
Yep. So just a quick update. If you recall, Tetra Tech recommended this specialty vendor come in and do an analysis of the master lift station in Stony Brook with the odor control smells. He flew in from Kentucky on Monday and flew out back to Kentucky on Monday, but spent half a day with Bill at the lift station. I think Flavia popped by. They were installing the equipment. Ed, like you mentioned in the previous meeting, we have to gather information, and he has to gather the information. So he's going to do that for about 6 weeks, and at the end of that 6 weeks, he'll give us a report with a recommendation on what he suggests on how we proceed. That report will come in front of this board for your direction and discussion, and most likely money.
Now, is he
I see Bill is here, can we? Were you here to say something about this?
I just came in case she needed some
Yeah,
backup.
because I've got a question, maybe Bill can answer, or you can answer. Is this a vendor or is this a consultant?
Consultant.
He is a consultant, so he doesn't have skin in the game for a company.
No.
So he's going to evaluate it. Did we give him a set of the plans so that he knows exactly how the water comes in and where the water goes and all those good things?
Yes, we gave him the flow information from each satellite station to the existing stations, everything that we have, all the old plans, any new plans, anything that we've done, we gave to him so he can evaluate it.
Good. Is somebody taking H2S samples daily, weekly, hourly, monthly, whatever?
We are taking them in the morning, but he put a data logger in that's going to collect them for 7 days, along with pressure readings and also samples taken from the incoming and the outgoing side of the existing odor control unit that he sent out for gas analysis.
Okay.
I just want to add one thing, aside from this. I missed it earlier, maybe during local achievements and recognitions. I don't know if we skipped over that. I just want to call out to staff for Winterfest and anybody who came and participated in that. It's our biggest event of the year. So I just want to give high kudos to staff for making that event so successful, and our sponsors.
Good crowd. Good crowd.
So that's all I had.
Anything else? Only thing I had was where are we at on the admin building in the park?
I have a pre-construction meeting set next week. They have been having issues trying to get access to the county system so that way they can submit the building permit. I've been signing vegetation removal permits and all kinds of forms, but pre-con, I think we have it scheduled for next week. And then from that point, I'll have a better, they did send us a tentative timeline, which looked shovel and ground sometime in April. That's contingent upon us getting the building permit. So they're working hardcore at getting that resubmitted and getting that clock ticking. But I'll have more information next week.
And then be sure to put that contract back on because we've got to, we can't proceed without an engineer.
Agreed.
Okay.
Hey, Chelsea, just one more thing, giving, this is the time for us to go again out there and looking out for sponsors, for, you know, name rights and things like that, so make sure we include that in April, but start sending out information now that that's something that's available for people to do.
Okay. So we were talking about ways to offset the cost of this and naming rights for the Commons Park. We don't have a name, so similar to Sherman Soccer Complex, if we could come up with a sponsor, maybe locally, that would be interested in providing a sponsorship and have naming rights at the park, that would help offset our costs. So that's something we're looking at as well. So tell your friends, tell your rich friends.
Tell the healthcare down there they don't pay anything anyway.
Well, they will.
They will now.
As of November 1st, they became a not-for-profit, so they can be assessed.
So they now can get taxed?
Assessed, absolutely.
Assessed.
All right. Good news.
No question about it.
I'm sorry? Any-
No question about it.
Any other questions, comments?
I
Motion?
move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye, Flavia.